Some of this will be review, some of it's a little bit new. Okay? I want to discuss what are called colligative properties. Colligative properties. Properties. Okay? And in this class, you need to understand about 3 kinds of colligative properties. Okay? One of them is osmotic pressure. Sure. Freezing point. Depression. Huh? No. I'm just telling you the 3 categories you need to learn here. Okay? And boiling point increase. All right? Let me sort of draw some connections to our previous unit for a minute when we start talking about colligative properties. Remember in the last unit, we said that all of those gas laws we had to do calculations with were based on the kinetic molecular theory. Okay? And the kinetic molecular theory assumed gases behaved ideally. Remember that? They were ideal gases. Okay? And those ideal gases, part of the one of the 5 assumptions was all those gas molecules didn't have any stickiness between them. They didn't have any interactions. Right? Remember that? Okay. Well, colligative properties are based on a sort of a similar concept where we assume solutions have particles that don't have interactions, or there are no interactions between the solvent and solute particles. Okay? So the stickiness between solute and solvent particles is assumed not to occur. All right? Now that's not true. And if you have a really polar solvent and solute, there's a lot of interaction. But for most of the calculations, especially for weak solutions, the math is perfectly fine by us making those assumptions. Okay? But here's where they don't work. They don't work when you have concentrated solutions. And they don't work especially when you have polar solvents dissolving polar solutes, or polar solvents dissolving ionic solutes, when they're anywhere near concentrated. Okay, so especially in those cases, they don't work very well. Now, you can use them, but the actual result deviates from what's predicted by these calculations we're going to do. Now, osmotic pressure, we're not going to do any calculations with that. Osmotic pressure, there's 2 ways to do calculations, generally 2 ways to do calculations with osmotic pressure. There really is more than that, but 2 broad ways. One of them isn't very practical, and the one that's more practical is way complex. So we're not going to be doing calculations with osmotic pressure, but you do have to understand the concept. Okay? We will be doing calculations for freezing point and boiling point. Now, let me give you a definition for colligative properties before we move forward. Okay? Colligative properties. Colligative properties are those properties of solutions. Those properties of solutions that result from the number of solute particles dissolved in the solvent. The number of solute particles dissolved in the solvent and not from any interactions between the particles. The number of solute particles dissolved in the solvent and not from any interactions between the particles.